Dudes Who Bet Sports.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dudes Who Bet Sports Show. As we got, like I said, no commercials, magic, Papa Dude, right back to the action here. And listen, we've got a lot to cover today. We're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to talk about our favorite betting angles and our favorite types of bets that we like to make and kind of go through some of those. But before we do, how we doing? What's the latest? What's the update?
Well, I'm doing really good. Still alive from the driver's ed.
Yep.
So things are going good. I got a bunch of really good kids. They don't drive very well, but they're trying. As long as you're trying to get better, do what you're told, you can live with that. So I do have a bunch of really good kids I enjoy being with. And so it's going good.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. And yeah, you're still alive, and that's always good when you're doing driver's ed.
I did save our lives today. So
okay. Well,
props to me.
That's good. What happened?
What happened? Well, we're at an intersection, and we're going to go straight across the intersection, and it's on a busy highway. There's traffic coming both ways, and the little gal's worried about one way, but not the other. And when the two come from that direction, from the east, she doesn't look back to the west, where there's a truck right there, and she starts to pull out. Ooh. And thank God the brake worked that I have on my side. So that was scary.
Yeah, people don't know there's a brake on the passenger side on those cars just for situations like that. So,
yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, gosh, yeah. Taking your life into your hands every time you do it.
That was scary.
Yeah, I would imagine. That sounds very scary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, but you did it. That's all that matters. Yeah.
Still got those reflexes. Still ready.
That's good. That is good. That's very good. Very good. All right. Well, that is very good. Before we get into it, we'll recap Belmont weekend, just briefly, not anything crazy because you've had that on all the other shows. So no need for us to just repeat it, but the Triple Crown is over. Another tough race to get to for some, not for all, but for some here as Dornoch gets the job done over Mindframe, who just decided to give it to Dornoch basically in the stretch and run sideways. What were your thoughts on the Belmont?
Well, it's just like all the other ones. I think your text to me afterwards, these were impossible.
Yeah,
they were. I think it's because none of them are really good. I just don't think we have a very good crop. Yep. Maybe the summer will change our minds. I don't know. I just don't see anything really. That's great. Sierra Leone cannot run but one style. And he always seems to get in trouble and can't quite get there. Same thing this time. Had to go wide, blah, blah, blah. Just can't quite get there. And then it's just not a really good crop, I don't think. And I wouldn't have picked Dornoch in 100 years because he had done nothing the whole year, right? I hadn't done anything since he's 2-year-old, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah, hadn't run very well, and never did I knew he would get the lead, so that was something to think about for sure, but I just didn't think he was good enough. And what do you think of Mindframe? Is he, if they can get him straightened out, he's only ran 3 times, so he's got an excuse.
Yeah.
Seasoned. If they can get that under control, is he that good?
Probably. Yeah. I think at the end of the day, you kind of said it, all the horses have their flaws, and Sierra Leone, you certainly pointed out his, and you're right. And I think Mindframe at least, hit the flaw for the Triple Crown series is he just got going too late and the immaturity beat him. At the end of the day, he got a perfect trip. He did exactly what he should do. He took over. I don't know if you've seen the overhead shot, like the blimp or helicopter shot of this thing. He takes over that race, and he is well clear and getting ready to gallop, and then he takes that right turn. So, but look, again, on that day, you knew going in, he had a lack of experience, and you kind of, I don't think you could have predicted he would have done exactly what he did, but you knew he might do some kind of weird things facing real horses for the first time. And at the end of the day, the inexperience got him beat. Maybe not the way we drew it up, but the inexperience got him beat. And
he did.
I think he'll be awfully tough to beat moving forward.
when he gains a little bit more experience, he does look at this point anyway as good as any of the rest of them. That's for
Yep.
sure. So
Yep.
it's been a disappointing 3-year-old campaign so far.
Well, I think, I definitely think it's just maybe not disappointing as much as just it's been funky. And you kind of knew going into this series that maybe not all 3 races, but a couple of these races might go that way because of what you said. You knew going in, okay, Fierceness, Florida Derby, that's better than everybody else, but the rest of them kind of put them in a pot, pull one out, and that's who wins type of thing. They're just kind of the same-ish, right? And the one thing you can say about Dornoch, Seize the Gray, and Mystic Dan, their resumes have been hit or miss, but they do have running styles that are better than Sierra Leone, and and Catching Freedom for that, as well. 2 horses I think are talented, but I talked about this on Blinkers Off. When you come from out of it, from the clouds, going in, stuff like what happened Saturday can happen in every race, because it's racing luck when you're that far behind. And when you can see them all, that means all of them are going to have to come back to you at some point, and they're going to get in your way, and things are going to happen.
You got to have luck to get through it.
And hold on real quick. Rob is right. Honor Marie's another one even further back. That's a horse that, doesn't get a lot of attention, but that's a talented horse. He's got ability, but again, he's always going to be up against it because of that. But anyway, go ahead.
It's a tough style. It really is.
Yeah.
And when you come from dead last, you better be a lot better than the rest of them. And he's not.
When you come from dead last, what you said, you got to be a lot better.
Yeah.
Or you got to hope the setup is really, really good, meaning they're flying. Or you have to hope that you get the dream trip.
Yeah.
Like that has to happen. And when it doesn't, you get what you get. And I knew when they were on the far turn and he hadn't moved yet, I said, he has no chance to win this race. He's way too far back. They haven't asked him. He's going to have to come 8 wide in the stretch. And it's just like, it's never going to happen.
And you have to ask, why didn't they ask him before they, why is it just the horse won't do it? I mean,
I guess they've just decided it's a stretch running horse and they can't get him to do much other than that. And and look, I think he's looking at Lee. I think he's, Red Route 1. I think he, that Zandon, if you, same barn, I think he's that kind. I think when things go perfect or when he catches easier fields, he can get the job done. But I think when he's taking on those elite horses, he's going to need a meltdown I'm talking to actually win. He's going to need a meltdown or an absolute dream trip. And to me, the way they ride him, I don't think he's real agile. I don't think he can go in between and kind of weave, because every race it's the same. Just keep him out way wide, bring him home. It's just not going to work.
He's not good enough. He's not good enough to do that. There's not very many that are. So.
Question from Davey: if Catching Freedom rests and races the Belmont instead of the Preakness, does he win? I think that's a good question. I would say no, but I think, honestly, I think he probably would have finished about where he finished in the Preakness. I don't think he would have won it. No, because honestly, with Catching Freedom, I think he's good, but I don't think he is capable of beating the best of this crop. I think if he shows up, he's not going to, but like Ohio Derby, Oklahoma Derby, Iowa Derby, West Virginia Derby, I think he's winning those all day long. But I think you move him up Haskell, Jim Dandy, Travers, I think he can win one of those races, but it's going to have Pennsylvania Derby. I'll throw that in there as well, but it's going to have to be a race where 1 or 2 of the really good ones, maybe they're not there. Right.
Yeah.
Like I think he can win a grade 1, but I don't think he can win the tip top grade 1. So
I don't think he'll win a grade 1 anyway. So
I tend to lean against that as well, because I feel like those races I just listed off. Well, Haskell, Travers, Pennsylvania Derby, maybe you never know there, but they're going to get the good, really, really good horses. So.
I mean, he could win the Iowa Derby.
Yeah,
and he could win the Oklahoma Derby probably.
Yep,
depends on who goes, but
for sure,
that's where he's at. It's a good horse, not a great horse. So
that's
what we got in this crop. It looks to me like, and Rob said something about a hoof issue earlier in the year for door knock. Yeah, I guess that could have been. I guess we can put his stock. We can put some stock into that probably.
Yeah,
If it was hurt.
I think the same as with Mystic Dan and Sees the Gray. Time will tell. If you believe in Dornock, go ahead and keep playing him. If you believe that was a fluke, don't. I mean, that's kind of how it is, and that's how you have to treat Sees the Gray and how you have to treat Mystic Dan to some degree. Mystic Dan a little more on the consistent side. But look, if you think it was a hoof issue, they think they got things straightened out, then go ahead and support him the rest of the year. And look, if he runs that Belmont race, just like if Sees the Gray can get back to that Preakness race, they can win. But
if he runs that Belmont race and the best horse in it goes crazy and goes sideways, go ahead and bet him. But I would.
Well, the other thing you got to think about though is, Mindframes beat all the rest of them. So Dornock had to run a huge race to win. Still, so if you enter a race and you think Dornock's going to run the Belmont effort and say Mindframe isn't there or whatever, go ahead and pick him. I mean,
sure. But he wouldn't have won this race.
No, I know.
If Mindframe hadn't been nuts.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't really put a lot of stock in this win. He shouldn't have won. Now, he ran good, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he was the best horse.
Yeah, and I guess we're both saying the same thing here. It's like he still had to run a very good race to win. And
definitely.
Look, he's right in the discussion. And if he can parlay that into some more success, he could win the 3-year-old of the year. He could. Sure. But he's got work to do still, as does everybody in this crowd right now. Torpedo Anna on Friday. I think that's the best 3-year-old in the country, actually. What did you think of Torpedo Anna?
Yeah. Be interesting to see what they do with her.
Yeah.
Will they go ahead and put her against the boys?
What would you do if she was yours?
She just seems to be the best. I think I'd run her against the boys, don't you? Just to see.
I'm always for running boys against boys and girls against girls, unless the girls
is a superstar.
Yeah, like a Rachel, obviously, take on the boys. There's been others. Zenyatta, Rags to Riches. Torpedo Anna kind of gives me that vibe.
Just try it. I mean, why are you going to lose?
Everything being equal and everything, working out and there's no setbacks or anything. I would run her coaching Club American Oaks, and then I would run her in the Travers. That would be kind of my goal, and then see. Yeah. So
it'll be interesting. I don't think McPeak can resist it. Do you?
I don't think he should resist it either this time. I agree with that. And I think, I don't know if she'll do the Haskell. She might. I mean, I think she'd look awfully tough in there.
When is the Haskell?
The Haskell would be, I think that's like the third weekend in July.
Well, she'd have plenty of time to be ready.
Yeah. It's either the third or the fourth. I can't remember off the top of my head, but your options are Haskell, Jim Dandy, or coaching Club American Oaks. That's your the next race series, basically. So I don't know if you want to go ahead and grab another grade one, attempt to grab another grade one against the females in the coaching club. If she enters there, there's not going to be very many in the race. No. So you may get a kind of a softish grade one field as a prep for a Travers if you want to try it.
And you get a good purse.
Yeah. And you could also, as the owner, be sitting there going, let's get the Alabama after that at Saratoga. Let's win 2 more grade ones up here, and then we'll go from there. I don't know.
I think she'll run against the boys.
Again, if she was mine, I would definitely, if she wins the next one, I would think, let's just try the Travers, and if she loses, she loses. Right. But I think, the way I'm looking at this now, it's to a point with the lack of really, really good horses anywhere, really, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, whatever. It feels like she might be able to win horse of the year if she can win the Travers, I
think so.
That kind of thing's up for grabs. And I think if you've got a horse that might be able to do something like that, you might have to just take a shot at it.
Well, what if she wins that? You take her to the Breeders' Cup and run her against the boys?
So if it was me, and again, it's not, and it doesn't really matter, but I would take her to the Breeders' Cup and run her against the girls.
Oh, you would? Mm-hmm. And then that solidifies her horse of the year, probably.
I think it would give her a real good chance. It still probably doesn't solidify it, but because there might be there might be a national treasure out there that runs the table the rest of the way or something. I'm not saying he's going to, but something.
Yeah.
But it'd give her a good shot at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if they're going to think that way, but that's how I would think.
Yep. I think they're probably considering it for sure.
Yep. One other thing, like I said, we'll mention this real quick. We're talking about the Belmont weekend here. How about a North American 5.5 furlong turf sprint record happening with Cogburn for Steve Asmussen? He runs 5.5 furlongs in under a minute, 59.8 seconds. So we're standing at about the 8th pole. We're up kind of high. We got a good spot high to watch this race. And I've got him bet, and he runs a 43-second half, which is fast for him. Like, he usually doesn't run that fast early. And I looked at Ricky and Jared, and I'm like, oh boy, I don't know if he can hold on to this. So they get to the 8th pole, and they're going to ask him the question, will he kick on? And they shake the reins, and I was like, I looked at those guys and said, holy shit, he just took off again. And they hit the wire, and I'm like, that's the best turf sprint I've ever seen in person. Easy. And it's one of the top 5 best performances I've ever seen. And that's before I even saw the time. Yeah. And they flashed that time up, and I said, if that's accurate, that has to be a world record. And well, it's a North American record. But right. I was like, I've never seen a time under a minute for 5.5 furlongs ever. And the program had it listed. The track record at Saratoga was over a minute and change. I can't remember. So anyway, what'd you think of that? I mean, that was just
what makes a horse do that? You have to ask yourself.
I don't know. Because here's the deal.
A really good horse for sure.
Oh yeah, no. So he's turned into a really, really special.
Now, how old is this one?
Huh?
How old is he?
He's now 4.
What does Asmussen do with these 4-year-olds? He just gets
he was really impressive at Churchill last time out. He was really impressive when they put him on the turf and sprinting last year. But this was not a horse that I had any thoughts of breaking a North American turf sprint record.
No.
And not only break, like sometimes you break a record and it's like, yeah, but the track was weird. He legitimately broke, like he absolutely ran a breathtaking race.
I know.
Like Heather was like with us and she was like, man, I haven't seen you like this very often. I said, I've seen a lot of races, and I'm not saying I'm not impressed by races. I'm impressed all the time, but I said, it takes a lot to like take my breath away. And that did,
Yeah. Totally unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
And just ran great. And who knows what he'll do next time? Who knows?
Yeah.
But Asmussen and 4-year-olds, his track record's unbelievable.
It is. It's great.
They get so much better with him as 4-year-olds.
It was fun to watch that one for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts, or do you want to move on to what we're doing here?
I think we can bury it.
All right. Yeah. Triple Crown's over. See you later. All right. Let's on to the summer.
That's right.
Don't let the door hit you on the way
out.
Right. Okay. Well, we're going to talk about our favorite betting angles, just bets in general that we like to make in sports today. Do you want to kick off your first one, or do you want me to go?
Let's do our favorite softball team first.
Okay. Yeah. Nope. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yep.
Again, this was a week ago, so it's kind of old news, but we did our show on Wednesday, I think, before. Yeah, we did it. Yeah, before the first game of the World Series was played. Mm-hmm. And we were optimistic, cautiously optimistic that OU was going to win. We're talking about the Sooners softball team. And again, a lot of you guys on here probably don't follow it, and I understand that perfectly. Although I can't believe how many of these kids that I have in driver's ed, boys, were watching this.
The World Series has become popular.
It has become popular.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we're going to do a lot of bragging on our team, but I don't care. These statistics are they're incredible what this team has done. There are 5 girls that came in as freshmen that made it all the way through their senior year, and they never lost the last game of the season.
Yeah, 4 straight.
They won 4 straight national championships. I don't know that that's ever been done before. I know it hasn't in softball. I'm thinking any sport.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe UConn, maybe basketball.
It's probably been done in some of the smaller ones, but yeah, I mean, that's incredible.
4 in a row for the these 5 seniors. They had 10 seniors, but some of them came in the portal.
Yeah.
So an incredible run, 4 in a row. I don't think it'll ever be done again under immense pressure.
Mm-hmm.
No, UCLA never won 4 in a row, Rob. This is the only team that's ever won.
Might be talking about a different sport, basketball, perhaps.
Yeah,
I know
you're right. Basketball, you're probably right, Rob. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Just unbelievable. In these girls' 4 years, they won. Yeah, I'm sorry, Rob. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
255-19 is their record. They lost 19 games in 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's absolutely insane. Last year they were 61-1. This year they lost 7 games, and everybody was bitching that they weren't any good.
Right.
Yeah. Run whatever I'm trying to say. The difference between runs. They averaged during this 4-year period scoring 8.7 runs per game and giving up 1.6.
It's crazy.
Of the 255 wins during this period, 131 were run rules. Run rules mean you have to win by 8.
Yep.
In softball, it's 8 after 5 innings. That's more than half.
Yeah.
Were run rules. Shutout wins. 141 of the 255 were shutout wins. They never were shut out during this period. No one ever shut them out.
I did not know that. That's incredible.
When leading by 4 runs, they were 201-0. They outscored their opponents 2,000. They scored 2,236 runs. Their opponents scored 340.
And that's in 4 years?
Yes.
Wow.
We're talking about, this is a team that plays anybody that will play them.
Yeah.
Somewhere I had their World Series record. It's unbelievable. They hardly ever lost a game in the World Series. When they got to Oklahoma City, it was over.
Yeah. Yep.
In the deciding game against Texas, this has never been done before. And I was watching this game and I was pulling my hair out thinking, what is wrong with you, coach? How can you ever knock this coach?
Right. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
She, in the deciding game, okay, in the game before, they pitched their ace and she won. By the way, going into the final games of the World Series, Texas had not allowed a run in the World Series.
Right.
No one had scored on them. And OU had struggled a little bit at the plate. They scored 8 runs in the first game against them. Just knocked the cover off the ball. OU pitched their best pitcher to win that first game. So we're all thinking in the second game, okay, she'll come back with either Nicole May or Kirsten Deal, who were the second and third best pitcher, just depending on your opinion. She throws out a girl I never heard of.
Yeah.
And I watch them some. I'd heard of her, but I hadn't seen her in forever. Everybody's going, Patty, what are you doing? So she starts, and every time Patty Gasso makes a move, these girls come through.
That's what, my cousin texted me and said, I can't believe she's doing this. I said, every time you text me that, they win. Like it's, and I didn't know anything about it. I don't know. I don't follow.
You weren't even here for that game.
No, I was watching the game. Yeah. I was watching on my phone. Yeah.
So they wanted to get 2 or 3 innings out of her. They did.
Yeah.
And they were still in the ball game. They were behind 3-2. The bases were loaded with 2 out. Texas was up in the bottom of the 3rd inning. 3-2, they're ahead. The bases are jammed, 2 outs. They take her out and put a girl in who had only pitched like 17 innings all year and none since March.
Yeah.
And she gets the 3rd out. That's the ball game. Yeah. That is the ball game right there.
That's when my friend, my insurance salesman, who's a huge fan, and my cousin were texting me going, this is crazy.
Yeah.
I said, I bet she gets her out.
The count went to 3-2.
Yeah.
And the 3 balls were terrible. They're way out of the strike zone. I thought, walk in this run. We're done. Yeah. Patty, what are you doing? Nope. Ground ball, first base, innings over.
Yep.
All right. So now you've gotten through 3 innings. You're only down 1. Now you can go to your pitchers, your good ones. So she brings in Kirsten Deal. She mows them down. In the meantime, OU scores 3 and takes the lead, 5-3. Then we get to the 5th. Nicole May comes in, mows them down. We get to the 6th, and we get in a little bit of trouble. Texas was not hitting the ball hard, but they were hitting it in spots. And just bloopers and trickling through the infield, and we made a mistake. And so they brought in Maxwell, their ace. It was 5-3, and they hit a little dribbler down the first baseline, and they botched it up. Anyway, she beat it out, and the Texas runner, instead of just running down the first baseline and coming back on the base, she kind of circled the bases and just stood there. The base, and OU tagged her out.
Yep.
That was the game.
So I have a theory on why the two Texas wins were so easy. Okay. So everybody that actually follows it was telling me they won't beat them. There's no way they'll beat Texas. Yeah. They're too good. Yeah. Everybody. And I told everybody, no, Florida's the team. They're the only team they can beat them. They're like, Florida's not as good as Texas. I said, they're the only team. Here's why. And again, I don't follow this. I watch the World Series. Here's why. Those girls at Texas know Oklahoma. They know what they're all about.
Yep.
Those girls at Florida don't care.
No, they don't.
They don't know them. They don't play them. They're not intimidated by the mystique. I know it's Texas. They're not intimidated by anybody. But when you go on a run like these girls at OU had, they ain't losing to somebody in the conference.
No, they're not.
Those conference teams, they may be better than them. They're not going to beat them.
No.
It's just that simple. Once they got by Florida, which was tough, but once they got by them, it was over.
Yeah.
That was my thought on it.
Yeah. So then after the base running mistake by the Texas player, OU gets 3 in the top of the 7th. And
that was it.
Turn out the lights. Party's over.
Yep.
We'll never see it again. Everybody says, oh, they've got this great recruiting class coming in. I don't care what they say. You can't lose some of the players they lost and be as good. You just simply cannot.
Well, they tend to be just as good, though, so we'll see.
They won't be.
What happens to them.
They lost generational players you'll never see again.
Well, they do that every year, it seems like. So
I will say this. The 2 hitters that hit the best in the World Series were freshmen.
Yeah.
So you can't ever count them out. It's going to be interesting. They're going to the SEC. The SEC will be tougher because, everywhere you go, those teams are pretty good. So you're going to have trouble sweeping people when you go on the road and things like that. They'll hold their own and they'll be as good because they beat them anyway in the World Series.
The top end teams will be the same. It's those middle teams in the Big 12 versus the middle teams in the SEC. It's going to be a big difference.
Yeah, they'll lose some games. They're not going to. But it may make them better. It's an amazing thing. I've never watched anything like it. I've never seen anything. In fact, I told you, I thought this must be what it was like to watch UConn basketball, women's basketball, when they were going through that. They never lost.
I know. Yep.
And as a fan, you're sitting there going, God, this is fun.
Yep. Exactly.
I don't know. Fantastic coach. Gets the most out of the players. Great coaching staff. Great program. Great chemistry. It's just the mindset there is, and she tells them, when you come there, you would not be here if you're not the best. And they believe it.
Yep. To say, you can tell that till cows come home, and she has some kind of way to get it out of them, and I don't know what it is. So it's not as simple as, hey, you're the best. There's something to it, but it's crazy.
It was crazy
what's happened.
It was. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, like I said, Texas wasn't going to beat them. And people were, not just you, but everybody was like, hey, you got it wrong. I said, no, I don't. They won't beat them. No way.
Well, I'm the ultimate pessimist when it comes to my team. I don't ever give them enough credit.
And it wasn't just you, though. Everybody was telling me, no, they're
just really afraid of them this year because
they're saying, they've got these lockdown pitchers and they got 2 of them, and OU's only got 1, and you can't beat them in a 3-game series. I thought, okay, we'll see.
Yeah. They scored 16 runs on a team that hasn't given up any.
Yeah, they didn't exactly lock us down. I didn't see a lot of lockdown in that situation.
There was no lockdown. No, it was great.
All right, let's get to the subject here. We're going to talk about our favorite betting angles and bets. Do you want to go first?
Well, yeah. I am more of a, I don't know. Okay, well, let's just go sport by sport.
Yeah.
Um, Baseball.
Yeah. Since that's current, start with
We're
that.
in baseball right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I base a lot of it. I really, of course, I do this every day. Can I tell you the players' names on these teams? No.
Yeah.
I really don't know because I don't watch a lot of the games, but I keep track of them and I follow them.
I'll jump in real quick before you keep going. I don't
Mm.
think watching the games in baseball, I don't think you get that much benefit out of it
Yeah, I
because
don't either.
I'm a guy that watches them all now, but it really didn't improve anything. It just,
Well,
I know
yeah,
the names, but that's it.
I don't. And so
Right.
okay, and I know you do, and I'm impressed because I don't know any of them. So,
Yeah.
but I kind of because I chart them every day and I keep up with them every day. I think in baseball you got to see who's hot, who's kind of even a bad team that may be playing a little bit better and they're
Yeah.
winning like say they go 3-3 or 4-2. And then you look at the pitching matchup and you say, their pitcher's better than this other one.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get them at plus 150, bet them. The other
Yeah.
night, the Rockies are one of the worst teams in baseball. They were playing Minnesota. They had the pitching matchup. They had it. And they were plus 165. And I don't always get these, but I had this really solid feeling that they were going to win. They're playing decent. They're just not any good. Minnesota's good, but they're not great.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the matchup and I love the odds and everything. So I went with them and they won. Now, sometimes you don't get that, but that's an angle I use a lot in baseball. I'm not a guy who bets no runs in the first inning, or I just don't bet that stuff because I think I'm not confident in it. There's too much crap that can go on that I can't predict.
So a couple of keys I look to in baseball. Okay. The first thing you mentioned, the Twins. They're a team. You got to find the teams that may have a decent record,
Mm-hmm.
but if you, and again, there's a difference between not watching the games and not following, right?
Yes.
So you follow it, you understand. I do follow it and I watch it, but if you kind of get those teams like the Twins as going to be my first example, they have a good record. They don't really play that tough of a division.
Yes.
And the Twins are a type of team, they beat the teams they're supposed to beat.
They do.
And that record jumps up. You want to look at the Twins when they're taking on a team like the Yankees. It doesn't matter if it's in Minnesota or if it's in New York. The odds are too good on the Yankees in those types of series because the prices are based on the records, and they look like they set the lines and they go, well, the Twins are really good. The Yankees are really good. The game's in Minnesota. I think this is an even game, and it's simply not. And it's because of what I just said. The Twins have had a lot more easier games, and they don't have the lineup that the Yankees have. They don't have the rotation that the Yankees have. And so that's when you want to attack a team like Minnesota. So always keep an eye on that. Now, look, they're playing the Athletics tonight. Well, forget it. That's the type of team. The Twins are going to beat them. That record's going to shoot up. And then eventually, and maybe it's not, maybe it's not the Yankees. Maybe it's the Orioles. Maybe it's probably not the Dodgers because they're too heavily bet. But maybe it's Seattle. Maybe it's somebody like that where you look at it, or the Phillies, and you go, yeah, like plus 110 on the Yankees tonight. I know they're on the road, but like they're better than the Twins. So you got to find the teams like that. You got to find the teams that are overvalued.
Right.
The Cubs are a little bit overvalued usually as well. That's another team. The Rangers right now have been overvalued, not when they're playing the Dodgers, but in other situations. So that is one situation every day. You said it, day in and day out. We look at these games. You got to find find your 3, 4, 5 teams. They have a decent record, but this division's kind of weak, and that's the spots you want to go against.
Right. I think a team you need to stay away from a little bit right now are the Royals. They've been playing the Yankees, so maybe you want to throw that out. But I've been waiting for them to kind of hit the wall.
The Yankees have, the Royals have become a team sort of like the Twins. They're kind of beating the teams they're supposed to beat, but yes, if you can get a decent price when they're playing a better quality opponent, take the opponent.
Yeah.
And the Yankees now that they did beat the Yankees today. And by the way, these things we're talking about, we're not saying these are surefire winners. We're saying over the long haul, this is how you got to approach it. Let's see who the Royals are going to play next, just to kind of give an idea. Yeah. Well, okay.
I would watch them a little bit right now because, my opinion, they're not as good as they were playing.
So yeah, they're not.
They're good. They're solid.
So you find spots. Okay, they're going to the Dodgers next. So that's the Dodgers. The Dodgers are almost unplayable. Their price is just always so low. But they've got games coming up, like a 3-game set in Texas against the Rangers.
Now that's one you look at.
That's a spot where if the Rangers are anywhere around even, you're going to take them. They got Cleveland coming up soon. That's another. You're going to look at Cleveland hard there. The Royals are pretty easy. They're a lot like the Twins. They've done a really good job of beating up on the bad teams, but yeah, that upper level team, that's going to be tough.
Right. And another thing too, if you get the Orioles or you get Cleveland or you get the Yankees, and there's sometimes you do, you get them at -110, you get them at -115. They're worth betting.
Yeah.
Anytime you get them, because most of the time they're 180, they're -200, they're unbettable.
Yeah.
So anytime you can get them at a good price, and they are favorites, but they're not solid favorites, I always take a shot at them unless I see something in the pitching matchup, or maybe there's an injury, something like that kind of scares me off. Because usually when the Yankees are not favored by much, there's something screwy going on.
Well, I think other than the Dodgers, that's the only team that gets a crazy amount of respect. The Yankees and the Orioles both, you can catch them at decent prices. Go ahead and do it. The Orioles hosted the Braves a 3-game set. They beat them 2 out of 3, and they were playable prices all 3 games. So you kind of have to look at baseball like that. It's a 3-game set. I think the Orioles are going to be playable these 3 games, just throwing that out as an example. I'll take the long haul approach. I'll bet them all 3 nights. Hopefully they can win 2 out of 3 for you. Another thing that I have had a lot of success with, betting against the bad teams, you might have to lay a 1.5. But if you can find a spot where you can lay a 1.5 and get a plus price, you got to look at it, and you got to understand whether you're watching the games or you're charting them like Papa Dude is. You have to understand why is this team bad? So let's take the Los Angeles Angels, for example. Why are they horrible? Well, their pitching staff is terrible. So learn the pitchers that you want to lay the 1.5 against. And if you can get that price, do it. So like Griffin Canning on the mound tonight, taking on the Diamondbacks in Arizona. If you believe the Diamondbacks are going to win this game, with Canning on the mound, the chances are it will be by more than a run. So instead of taking -195 on the money line, go ahead and take the -1.5 at +120 on the Diamondbacks tonight. Because the chances are, if the Diamondbacks are winning that game, it's not going to be 4-3. It's going to be 8-3. And how you cover these -1.5s, the easiest is you get out to a big lead. And how are you going to get out a big lead? The other pitcher's not very good. Patrick Sandoval, Griffin Canning for the Angels. Those are 2 examples. Look for those pitchers you don't have a lot of confidence in, playing for teams that aren't very good and don't score a lot. And then if they're playing an opponent that you have confidence in, go ahead and attack that -1.5.
Yep, that's a good angle.
Yeah, that's something I've just looking at a lot. And again, when I look at this, I'm looking for a plus money price. Now you said it. There are a few teams, Orioles, Yankees would definitely be included with that. I'll take a -110, -120 because they're superior. And
the thing about baseball and hockey, you don't have a point spread to worry about.
Yeah.
In most cases.
Yeah.
If you get a price the way you want it, you don't have to worry about the score. They just got to win.
Baseball and hockey both, if you are going to take the spread, it's a goal and a half or a 1.5. You're not like basketball. If you got a team you really like, you might have to lay 8.5. Well, that's winning by 9 is way different from winning by 2.
Absolutely.
And I know the runs and the goals are harder to come by, but In hockey, you've got the empty net
That's the thing
situation.
that kills you in hockey.
Yeah, but actually, it's your benefit though. The empty net is a big benefit. If
you're betting the minus,
right? Well, I'm not talking about the plus.
Yeah.
But if you're betting minus a goal and a half, you think, okay, if it's 2-1, we got 2 minutes where they don't have a goalie.
Do you ever bet the plus? I don't.
No,
very rarely.
Very rarely.
If a really bad team is playing a really good team, I might, but hardly ever.
So it's angles like this. And again, there's no, I think people want to have this magic wand to wave. And it's like, oh, this guy's figured it out.
No,
there isn't that. There is no figuring it out. There isn't a shortcut.
No.
There isn't a guy out there that's a wizard. There isn't a guy out there or gal that sees the future. It's work and it's repetitiveness.
Yep.
And it's learning angles that work like what we're talking about. That's if you want to say that.
A lot of it, day in and day out, you just got to keep going. You just got to, don't get discouraged. Like I was last week at this time, I was really struggling.
Yeah.
Got going again on Friday. Had a great week so far. Last night, I hit 3 straight underdog baseball games.
Yep.
Did I go nuts today? No.
Right.
Because I didn't like anything today. Didn't like it.
The highs and lows are going to be there no matter how you bet, what you do.
Yep.
And you have, I'm not going to name names, but I've got friends that the lows kill them. And I always tell them, when you finally realize that you make the bet and it's out of your hands and you're not dumb if you miss it and you're not great if you hit it, and realize I'm looking at analytics and I'm using my mind after I look at the analytics to make logical plays. And then they either work out or they don't, but you're not a genius when you hit it and you're not an idiot when you lose it. It's random shit. You're just trying to be on the right side of the random more often than the wrong side and using these angles. And I'm like, I don't even get mad anymore.
No. Because I get disgusted when I lose one right at the last.
Okay. Well, let me back up. I'm not saying you can't get mad. I'm just saying, if you think about this after it's over for more than like 10 minutes, you're never going to make it.
No,
you're just not. You're not. And that goes for horse racing or this. It's like Jared is still talking about mind frame. I'm like, dude, it is over. I forgot about mind frame as soon as the race was over.
Well, and here's the thing that Jared needs to realize, and I'm sure he does. He couldn't predict that horse going nuts.
No, and it happened.
He had the race pegged.
And it happens every track.
It does.
Every time that can happen, there's just
he had the right bet.
Yeah.
The horse just went nuts.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So again, I think mentally is the most underrated thing, because I do think people tend to gravitate towards, well, this guy's got some secret.
No.
And I don't have it. And how do I get it? He doesn't. He or she doesn't. There is no secret to this. Now let's go. Let's keep going. Do you have any more angles for baseball?
No, let's go to hockey because it's
go to hockey. Yeah. Go ahead.
Hockey is very similar to baseball.
Yeah, I would say a lot of the same kind of things.
Yeah, because there's not a real point spread involved. The -1.5s are good to bet if you get the right price. And a lot of times when a really good team is playing a really bad team, the -1.5 is not bettable.
Right.
In the playoffs, I have done real well betting the under total goals.
Yes.
It's been 5.5, and I've cashed a lot more than I've missed because these playoffs have been low scoring. You do a lot of first period under 1.5, and you've done extremely well in these playoffs, and that's a very good angle too.
So I'll jump in now. The best bet in all of betting, whether it be horses, whether it be any sport, the best bet in all of betting, this encompasses everything, is under a goal and a half first period in hockey.
Yeah.
In my opinion, there is no debate, because it is hittable 90% of the time. If you follow it, if you're doing the work and you follow it, those jump right out at you. Like I can pick out the games I want to play minus under goal and a half or under goal and a half first period. I can pick them out in 2 minutes because
you follow it and you know who the defensive teams are.
That's just it. Once you have a grasp for the style of plays of every team in the league, and really, it doesn't take a whole. I mean, give me 15 games, or just give me the rosters at this point, because I know the teams and the coaches and the players. But if you get two teams matched up and they both want to play a defensive style of hockey, it's just a no-brainer. It's an automatic. And look, again, you're not going to hit them all the time, but you hit those at an amazing rate. And you also learn the teams to stay away from. Like, okay, Edmonton, Colorado, those are teams with elite players. Those are teams that don't really have a lot of interest in playing a slower style.
Yeah.
So, stay away. If they're involved in games, just stay away.
Unless the Colorado's playing San Jose. You don't bet Colorado may score 3 in the first period.
Yeah, stay away from it.
You
stay
just
away
don't.
from it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you also learn the goalies and okay.
Well, it was like the Rangers-Florida series.
It's money.
The odds of that
it's money
being more than 1-0 in the first period, or more than 5.5 total goals.
Yep.
If you bet the under 5.5 goals in the first 2 games of the playoffs right now, you won both times.
Yep. And I did not bet unders. I just bet Florida's money line both times. But
the
unders have come in
low enough. It was low enough.
But the under for the total game and the under for the goal and a half has come in both times.
Yeah.
And I've been surprised by that because, again, you had Edmonton involved. And not only that, like
one goal.
The flip side of it is, other than Edmonton, other than Colorado, most of your other like really, really good teams, they're defensive first.
They are.
And so when you get like a Dallas, I know Dallas shit themselves in the playoffs, but you get a Dallas out there, man, you match them up with just about anybody. You can go that under goal and a half, and you're going to feel really good about it. And again, Rangers, Carolina. I mean, you're going to miss them. You're going to get some bad luck. You're going to get bad breaks. That's part of gambling, but that is it's a money bet.
Again, if you're just barging into hockey and you're not following it, you can't do this kind of betting. You got to know, like Detroit. You don't bet Detroit.
Right. Detroit's a team you stay away from.
Yeah, you stay away from because they give up goals and they can score goals.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to really, like you said, you have to follow it. And to be a good sports bettor, and I'm not saying I am, but to be a good sports bettor, you do have to watch this every day. You just can't come in and start picking a sport like hockey, which most people don't follow that much, and do very well at it.
Well, you have to watch or you have to follow. You don't have to physically watch the games, but you got to keep an eye on what's going on.
I know what the scores were.
Yeah, and you got to know, like I said, the styles of play for the teams.
Yep.
So the under goal and a half, it's the best bet out there. Other hockey things for me, and it's just like baseball. You got to find the teams that are overvalued and play against them.
Yep.
And the Penguins were a really good example this season. They're way overvalued. You could get plus prices, get them. Play the other team as an underdog. Washington Capitals, another one. So what you want to look for, forget about the top tier teams, forget about the bottom tier teams, live in the middle, basically. Look at those middle teams and see, okay, these are the ones that I think are pretty legit. These are the ones that I think aren't, and go against those teams as much as you can that Vegas is, or whoever's making the lines is going to say, yeah, that's a good team. And you kind of know they're not that good, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
I thought Edmonton was overvalued a lot this year.
They were.
Not that they're not good, because they are, but I thought their odds were too high on them several times.
I thought
Vegas was a little bit overvalued.
So Vegas, that's another thing. If a team wins a cup the year before, they're going to be overvalued most of that next year. And you knew about 20 games in, Vegas wasn't as good this season.
But you do have to follow it, and you got to keep up with it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then, honestly, you do have teams like Florida that get a little bit undervalued because they're the Florida Panthers and they're in the NHL.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that happens. Any other angles for hockey?
Nope.
Okay. Do you want to go to basketball next?
Yeah. Now, I don't like betting the NBA very much.
Okay. I hate the NBA, so just go college, because that's where you've had the most success.
Yeah. The reason why I don't like the NBA is because you never know who's going to play.
Correct. Yeah.
You can't make a bet in a game because, in a one-sided game, maybe, but in a game where you're trying to get some good odds to make money, you don't you don't know if LeBron's going to sit out today. You
Right.
don't know if they're going to rest somebody, or you don't know who's going to suddenly come up and is injured
Hmm.
before the game. So I don't like the NBA much. I don't like to bet it a whole lot. College basketball, again, I follow that. I don't watch all the games, but I have a folder with all of the conferences, even the little shitty ones, and all of their records and how they're doing, how they're, they if they won four in a row, are they doing this, are they doing that?
Hmm.
So I do work hard at it, and there's a lot of teams that you got to keep tabs on.
Yeah.
College, to me, a lot of this that I do pretty well on is there's just certain teams that are not going to lose at home to somebody.
Yeah. So you take for betting purposes, you think college basketball, that's where you take home advantage like to the
Yes,
max. Yeah.
definitely.
Okay.
Like KU is not going to lose at home, and very often, if you can get them at -4, -5, you're probably going to cash.
Hmm.
You don't always get them at that, but you did some. They weren't as good this year, but I still made some money on them. Teams that just when a visiting team goes in there, they're not going to win.
Hmm.
They're just not. So that's something I look at a lot in college. I'm not a guy that bets total points in the game. I
Hmm.
don't. I'm not good at that. I don't. You never know what the freaking score is going to be. I don't. I have trouble with that.
Yeah.
So I don't do those kind of bets very often. I usually pick who's I think is going to win, and try to get that spread. Um, and I got on a roll this year, and I've won on some uh, obscure teams.
Yeah. I was going to get into that. Go ahead though.
Well, a team that came out of nowhere this year that they finally beat me was South Florida, and I mentioned them before. They've never been any good. They were good, and
Hmm.
they were undervalued every freaking game.
Yeah, they
So
were.
for a while, they were like, I mean, you could win with them and make money. And so I stuck with them, and they just kept coming through. Those are teams that you kind of look for, teams that come out of nowhere that aren't generally very good. You're going to get good odds on them because nobody believes in them.
Yeah.
So you got to be smart. You got to stay away from certain things. Again, you got to follow it. There's so many college basketball games. It's hard. You got to be a real nerd to keep up with them.
Wouldn't you say, and this the thing I was going to get into was the smaller schools. And I
Mhm.
think if we're going to quantify what you said into an
Mhm.
angle, if you can do your homework and you are keeping an eye on the smaller schools,
Mhm.
you can get ahead of the curve
You can.
quicker because there's not as many people betting those games. They're
No,
not taking as much time setting those lines
no.
as the Big 12, the SEC, the ACC, things like that. Um, that's what I've kind of noticed. Like, if you can get a real good idea of those
Mhm.
smaller schools, that's where you can really clean up because
Yeah.
you can get ahead of it.
There's a couple of schools just off the top of my head. Drake Bulldogs.
Yeah.
You bet their ass at home.
Yep.
You bet them
Yep.
if you got the odds. And the Missouri Valley was pretty good this year.
Mm-hmm.
So you got some pretty good lines on them at home. It's damn hard to go into Des Moines, Iowa and beat Drake.
Yeah.
Another team just across the way a little bit, the Creighton Blue Jays. They're tough at home.
Mm-hmm.
So when a team comes out, especially these teams from the Big East that come all the way out to Omaha, Nebraska to play them,
Yeah.
they're nails. They are hard. You can get some good prices with them at Creighton. Those are teams you kind of just look at and you kind of watch and you can, if you get the odds, you won't get those odds the way you want them every night. And there's certain teams like UConn. Okay, you're taking a chance if you bet against UConn. I don't care where they're at.
Although Creighton did beat him at
They
Creighton,
did
but
beat
yes,
them.
yes,
They have a home court advantage. So
yeah,
those are just trends that you have to look for. You never bet against Houston in Houston, never.
right, yeah,
But you rarely get it. I mean, now that they're in the Big 12, you're getting better prices on them,
mm-hmm.
and they're going to beat your ass in Houston most of the time.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, a Kelvin Sampson team will go on the road, and they're kind of a soft favorite or even a slight underdog. Pick their ass. They're probably going to win. They're just one of those teams, and those are teams you gotta find, you gotta look at.
It goes back to what travels, and what travels: defense, hard
Defense,
nose, rebounding.
yeah,
Houston
tough,
doesn't win games shooting 50% from the field. They win
right,
games rebounding, defense,
yeah,
hard
and
nosed basketball.
yeah, and the other thing too, if you get on a team and you're struggling with them, quit betting their ass. Just quit it.
Yeah,
It
I
gets
think.
in your head.
Yeah, you just avoid them. Yeah,
You do. It just gets
honestly,
in
for
your
me
head.
right now, I'm having a really good MLB, Major League Baseball
Uh-huh.
season so far. But
Uh-huh.
there's one team I cannot get on the right side of, and that's the Milwaukee Brewers. And
They're
I'm
tough.
sitting here telling you right now, that's a good baseball team.
It is.
They cannot win when I bet them. They can't.
What I do, and again, you got to be a nerd, and I do have some free time. You got to be a nerd.
Mm-hmm.
I chart my records with each team.
Right. Yep.
I can't get the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
I can't get them. I can't get the Pirates because I pick them to lose a lot, and they're not bad.
So I
can't get San Diego.
I usually stay away from the Pirates. I actually beat them last night. I had a -1.5 of the Cardinals last night, and it came through. But it was the whole game was just a sweat because it was tight, and freaking Cardinals can't hit right now, and it's crazy. They did win again.
Pittsburgh's got good pitching.
Oh, Pittsburgh, yeah. Paul Skeens.
I should have picked the under in that one, but
in the one last night.
Was it low scoring last night?
Yeah, it's 4-2
last 2-1. Yeah,
no, it's 4-2. Well,
4-2.
They played 3 games, 2-1, 4-2, 4-3. So the under came in every game of that series.
So that's something too.
So yeah, I would even go like smaller, like a school that you probably saw if you bought Papa Dude's sheet or you listened to us, like Quinnipiac. Like you find that even Quinnipiac and their conference, and maybe a couple other conferences like the College of Charleston conference. You just kind of,
usually when they go on the road and they're underdogs.
Yeah, you just kind of find spots where it's like that makes sense because I've watched them 3 or 4 times, and I've watched that team, and that line's weird. And again, I think you got a better chance to get weird lines that make sense in your favor in that market, that smaller college basketball market.
Yep. And if you do miss a couple, don't get discouraged. Hang in there with them.
And again, yeah, the overall theme we'll keep preaching here is you're not dumb when you miss, and you're not God when you hit.
True.
You're betting on random situations. It's like playing a slot machine, but you have a lot of education on what that slot machine might do. But it's still a slot machine, right?
Yes.
Now, we are very, very educated on what's going on today in Major League Baseball, but it's still a game. It's still a billion probabilities all coming together for one outcome. And you just don't know. You just don't know for sure. And
I do stay away from betting bad teams.
Well, I think that is one thing that
I did put the Rockies, but
I think bad teams are very important, but it's more about finding the correct ways to fade them versus playing them. Right. Like if I look at a game like, let's say, the Marlins and the Mets tonight, for example, 2 bad teams.
That's 2 bad teams.
I go to the very next game. I don't even look at it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to sit there and watch the Mets for 9 innings.
Unless there's a pitching matchup that's way in favor of one.
Even if there is.
I usually don't bet it.
No, even if there is, I can't get it. So I can get, maybe I can get it. Maybe I don't. I don't want to put. And here's the other deal. Here's the other deal with anything. There are so many options now. You can bet 365 days a week on some kind of sport. There's no reason to tie up money. Now, if you've got some angle that you love, sure, but there's really just no reason to tie up some of your bankroll on teams that aren't very good, unless you've got some steadfast, logical things you're looking for. Like tonight, I mean, if you wanted to bet the Mets, you're going to have to lay a 1.5, and it's just like, do you really want to watch the Mets and they're up 5-2 and the bullpen blows another game and maybe they win, but it's 5-4 and you lose? Like, I don't want to do that. So, but again, it comes down, you got to know these teams. You don't have to know the names. You got to know what they do. You got to know their trends. All right. Anything else with college basketball before we move on to the football?
I think we covered it pretty good. Yep.
Okay. So the last thing we'll talk about, we'll do college and NFL. We'll do college first. I think the big thing for any gambler You got to admit where you're weak, because even though you might like something, you might like a sport, might like to bet a sport. If you're weak at it, you really need to stop doing it. And this is where I'm weak. And I'll tell anybody, I don't mind.
And you should be really good at it. That's
I know more about college football than any other sport, and I cannot. If I pick 15 college football games, I might get one. And I'm not lying. That's that freaking bad.
It frustrates the hell out of you.
Now the NFL it's better. It's still not strong, but it's much better than in college. Mm-hmm. I can't get a college game right. I've tried angles. I've tried everything. I can't get them right. I don't bet college football anymore. I can't. It's a losing proposition. And why would I do it when MLB and the NHL is going on during college football?
And you're doing good. Yeah.
And I can do that. And I'm consistently good at it. Why would I jump into college football? I have nothing for college football. Go ahead. What do you have? Because I have nothing.
It's pretty much like college basketball. Again, I keep track of, how I'm doing, which teams am I not doing well with, trying to figure out, why am I not doing well? And so it's just, a lot of it is just, I just know the sport so well. Mm-hmm. And again, I know places that these teams are going to go, they're not going to win. Mm-hmm. They're just not. And if you can get the point spread the way you want it, you just, that's the key. Like, okay, let's say, for example, let's say Missouri is really, really good. Mm-hmm. Say they're 6-0, and they go into Georgia, and let's say Georgia's 5-1. They've lost a game, and you get Georgia at say -7. Bet the hell out of it. Missouri ain't going to beat them. They're just not when they go in there.
So you just kind of look for
those are angles I look at.
You look for tradition versus non-tradition.
Well, in a situation like that, I do. Yeah. And there's just again, I watch a ton of college football. There are certain teams I just stay away from. I just do. Now, I may bet total points more in college football because I've got a better idea of what the scores might be in college football than there's so many things in basketball that control the score that's hard to predict. College football is a little easier for me. So I do bet a little bit more on total scores in college football than I do other sports. Do I have a secret? No. I just work hard at it, and I screen it and go over it and over it and over it. And I look at websites that pick games, and I kind of read stuff that maybe somebody else says.
Yeah.
I may pick up somebody that's hurt that I didn't know. There's just a lot of stuff that I do. I don't just randomly pick them. So I don't take a whole lot of time on baseball because I don't think it takes a whole lot of time to pick baseball. But with college football, go ahead. No, well, I start on Monday on college football.
So you're saying, because I agree, baseball and hockey, and again, I follow it, so I don't have to look up a lot, but I can get a full slate of games done fairly quick.
Yeah.
So you're saying with college football, you believe it takes a lot of
a lot more games.
Yeah.
There might be 70.
No, but there's a lot of games in college basketball too. I mean,
that takes forever.
Okay. All right. But college football, you're saying you start on Monday studying for the Saturday games and you're going all the way through the week.
A Saturday of college basketball where there's 140 games. And I'm, for tally side or whatever we use, I pick every one of them.
Right.
It will take me 3 hours.
Okay.
To come up with my picks.
Right.
Baseball this morning, 20 minutes. 20 minutes.
I mean,
there was only 8 games today, or 9 or 10, whatever it was.
I agree with what you're saying. Yeah.
But I'm trying to find a needle in a haystack with college football, and needle in a haystack but on college football, they only play, sometimes they play on Thursdays and Fridays and Saturdays, but the games are posted with the lines usually on Mondays. That's when I start. Mm-hmm. I write them all down, and if something jumps out at me, I circle it.
So let me ask you this on college football.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say, now obviously we're assuming that some of these powerhouse teams are good, right?
Oh, yeah.
Is it fair to say, like, let's take the national championship, for example. If Michigan has a really good team
Mhm.
and Washington has a really good team, you're always going to lean to Michigan because unless there's something that just totally flies out the.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Because traditionally they're a little better.
See, I'm trying to quantify I know what you're talking about, like your process, which is great, but I'm trying to quantify. So what's the actual angles that are making you successful? And
I don't know.
I know.
I just worked my ass off at it, I guess. And
yeah, but I mean, I'm trying to
never bet my team. Never.
So stay away from the OU.
I don't ever bet my team.
What about teams that you don't like Texas? Do you just stay away from that?
I'm a little biased on them. No, I know if I like the line, the thing with the good teams in college, you never get a line that you like. Like you can't.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're going to pick Alabama, they're going to have to win by 30.
Right.
Oh, that's too risky.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You got to find, again, these middle of the road teams that are like Boise State at home. Okay, that's when you look at. It's hard to go beat them or to beat them and cover. It's hard.
So if you went down there and you said Fresno at home, that would be another.
That would be another one that you.
San Diego State.
Yeah. Those are teams that you kind of. K-State in Manhattan.
K-State, Manhattan. Yeah,
they're tough there. They're
so
hard.
You try to, even though they may not be the best, you try to look for those types of matchups.
They're going to beat somebody up there. They shouldn't.
Well,
it's just angles. Not. It's just feeling really, and knowing the sport and knowing who's tough to beat at home. I know all this stuff. I have followed this so much.
Yeah.
Even when Florida is down, like they have been, I have a tough time betting against them when they're in Gainesville. So with them being down like that, I just pass.
The thing that makes me the maddest is I can sit here and talk all about the game. I can break down what they've done, what they want to do. And I'm still never right. Like everything you said, I can do that too, but I cannot get them right in college football.
It's tough. It really is.
Yep. It's frustrating. So I do enjoy it because I don't have any money on it 99.999% of the time. I don't bet it. So it's fun to watch it because I'm not sweating anything.
Now, but when we get to the NFL, then you're going to tell me yours because I suck at the NFL.
Okay. Well, let's go to the NFL.
Okay.
Let's do that. I Major League Baseball, NHL, that's where I live, right? Yeah. But I can go into the NFL and not get killed. That I can't get. I'm not going to ever. Maybe I will one day, but I'm not going to ever get to the profit levels of Major League Baseball and the NHL in the NFL. I'm not. But I don't get killed either. I can tread water, basically. Okay. So if I go back at the end of the NFL season, I'm either like, I made $100. I lost $100. It's not that big of a deal. Yeah. I'd love to get better. I think with the NFL, the number one problem is the lines are tight.
They're tight.
You can't find flaws in the lines very often.
And all of these teams, even the shitty ones, have good players.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll step up and they either beat the spread or they win.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like I always have a feeling they're going to do it, but I don't bet them. And it pisses me off. And it just, I don't have a good feel for it. I never have with the NFL. And maybe it's because I don't have a favorite team. I really don't. I don't watch it much early in the season when it's warm outside. Now, when it gets cold in the winter, I start watching it a lot. Because the other thing with me, I don't ever leave the couch on Saturdays.
Right. Yeah.
I've had enough football.
So with the NFL, I think you can simplify it down by three kind of measurements of each team. Quarterback.
Definitely.
Quarterback is huge.
Maybe 1, 2, and 3.
No, I mean, it's number one.
Yes.
I really believe the defensive line is your second handicap.
You're probably right.
Because here it is. Here's basically the NFL in a nutshell. If the quarterback is good and you think his offensive line can protect, he's going to kill you.
Yeah, that's right.
9 times out of 10. And there's a very vast difference between the elites, the goods, and everybody else is shit, basically. There's a
Basically.
lot of terrible quarterbacks in this league.
There is.
But if you are handicapping a game and you go, okay, let's just throw out, well, let's just say like Joe Burrow, for example. If you look at the line matchup and you go, well, this defensive line can't get natural pressure on Burrow today. That means A, they're going to have to bring pressure, or B, they're going to drop everybody back. Either one, he's going to kill you. Yeah. Because if you bring pressure, he's going to find one-on-one matchups. If you drop everybody back, these guys are elite wide receivers. One of them's going to get open. You can't cover them. And so it's a double-edged sword. Yep. So that's the number one thing. I look at the quarterbacks, and then I look at the defensive lines that they're up against. And the third thing would be the offensive line, obviously, because even if the defensive line is really good, if you've got an elite offensive line, then you can still, you get the job done. And look, I don't think you have to look any further than the Chiefs. Obviously, quarterback, check, generational player.
Mm-hmm.
Why is the Chiefs defense really good? Their line.
Yeah.
The opposing quarterback has no time to throw.
Yeah, they're very good
most of the time.
Yeah.
And what does a great defensive line do? Okay, obviously sacks for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But what about hurries that end up in turnovers?
That's right.
Now you gotta have secondary, you gotta have linebackers that are at least adequate for sure to get those. But if your line is rushing a quarterback and rushing the throws, it's going to lead to turnovers. And that's how you get them, folks. And if you got to commit your linebackers, you got to bring a safety in to blitz the quarterback. You're going to be very vulnerable against the elite quarterback. So in the NFL, that's just the two things I look at right there. And that's just it. If you can do, in what Davey says, if you can keep your quarterback clean and you got a decent one, points aren't going to be a problem.
That's right.
And then it's just the intangibles, the turnovers. If you could still lose a game if the turnovers don't go your way and you miss some field goals, something like that. But those are the two things. But
I like the bet. Go ahead.
In the college, I can't figure it out because one week the defensive line of a team will look like beasts, and the next week the damn quarterback's standing in the pocket 15 seconds and they can't get any pressure. So
it's hard.
I don't know the answer to that, but
the thing about the Chiefs, again, we watch tendencies. When they're huge favorites, I think you should stay away from them. They don't usually cover big spreads, but you get them somewhere where they're -3, -2, -4, then you want to bet them. Because it seems like when they're 9, 10, 11, 12-point favorites, that game's close. That's a tendency I look at in the NFL too. Double-digit point spreads. That doesn't happen very often in the NFL. These games are close for the most part.
Yeah. There's Jason. Yeah, Jason, man, it was crazy. We saw Jason and we're like, hey, we'll meet you back here in a minute. And I know, Jason, you probably didn't move either like us. It got so busy Saturday, you couldn't even move at Saratoga. It was nuts. It was great. Yeah, no, you're right about that for sure. And again, I think for me this year, the challenge will be, okay, I found a couple angles where I'm good. I could try, not good, but I can tread water. Now, what's the third thing? What's something else that could push it over the top? Or what's a bet where I could take advantage of that better than I am currently? Yeah. So that's the new challenge for the upcoming NFL season.
And there's always teams that are overvalued, like Dallas.
Yep.
That's a good one to peg, go against somebody like them. Sometimes I think Green Bay can be overvalued sometimes.
Yeah.
The 49ers sometimes maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
But the NFL usually, those point spreads are -6, -5, -4, -7. Those are tough. Those are tough to nail.
It's coming in right at that number a lot of times.
Yeah, it does all the time.
I don't know how many
games. Down to the wire, too.
Yeah, I don't know how many games you watch 3.5 quarters. You go, well, the last 5 minutes will determine this.
Almost all of them.
Yeah, I know.
When you're betting the points and you're sitting there just biting your fingernails saying, why did I do this?
Yeah. John White will lay big money line numbers in the NFL all the time because he's like, look, I can't mess with the point spreads. I don't care if it's 10 or 2 or whatever. I don't want to mess with it. And he'll just lay the money lines and forget it. And I said, well, I get it. He's like, I've been beat so many times in the NFL on backdoor covers or just a team doesn't show up and they rally and they win by 3 and I've got a -6.5. He's like, all the time.
It does.
So,
yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts on that before we wrap it up?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I wish I could have gave some better tips, but it's a lot of just hard work.
Well, no, I think we went over a lot of things to look at least. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I want to ask you this, and it's the first time I've ever seen this. I want to know if it's the first time you have.
Okay.
The lines for the men's bathroom at Saratoga on Saturday were 3 times as long as the lines for the women's bathroom. Have you ever seen that? Usually the women's bathroom is the long line, and the men's you get right in.
Well,
I've never seen it.
There's a couple of opinions I could have on that. Were there more men there than women? That's
obviously that's what it was, right?
And number 2, well, okay, then it's already been answered.
Yeah. So
a lot of drinking going on.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I still have never seen that.
I have never looked at lines for bathrooms because I don't go in public restrooms unless I'm really in need.
You would have seen the lines because there's no way to miss them.
Okay.
On Saturday.
So they were in the way when you were walking by.
Oh, yeah. So I have, C. Davies with me. It's crazy. Like usually the men's, you're in, you're out, it's over. Yeah. That's Jason. So like when we saw you, I don't remember, it was like maybe the 4th or 5th race. And even like after the 6th, we were walking around that place and we were like, well, this is almost like the Travers, but it's still not quite as busy. And then all of a sudden about the idiomatic race, so I think like 7th race, we tried to go from the picnic tables over by the 4-Star Dave bar to the paddock bar. And it took like 20 minutes. And then we got to the paddock bar and we're like, it might be an hour before we could even get to the bartender. And we were looking around and it's like, oh, they've maxed out. Like they said they're limited at 50,000. I've been there when there's 50,000. This felt like 70,000. Really? There were people freaking everywhere. So I told the guys, I said, all right, don't worry about it. I know a secret bathroom. There's never anybody in it. Ever. It's on the very end of the track on the far turn. I said, there's no doubt there won't be anybody in it. That line for that bathroom was out the door, wrapped around outside. I'm like, okay, we're stuck in one spot. We're not moving the rest of the time. Yeah, it felt like 75K was there. The problems that I've never had at Saratoga in all the years, and I've been there for a lot of big races, they were happening. Wow. But listen, there should have been 75K because those races were ridiculous. They were awesome. So, and it gives you, I mean, the Belmont was the noise and how loud everything was. I mean, it was crazy. It was awesome. So yes, he waited 20 minutes in line. So
20 minutes.
It was wild. Now Friday was fine, but yeah, Saturday was just a zoo. So, well, a matter of fact, I woke up at about 7:30 on Saturday. And the first race was at 10:45. And so we were on Monroe Avenue. We got an Airbnb on Monroe, which is 3 blocks from the back gate and the side gate, I should say. And so I got out and I walked outside to see the temperature, see if I needed to wear a sweatshirt or a t-shirt. Walk out and Monroe Avenue was lined with cars already at 7:45. People were already parking and going in at 7:45. Wow. So I went in and I told Heather, I said, oh, this is going to be a big day. This parking spot out because I usually park on Monroe or maybe the street over. And I can get there about 45 minutes before and park in the street and be fine. But no, it was all taken up. So like I said, I went in and said, okay, this is going to be different today. This is going to be different. Yeah. And, it was crazy. I'm so glad we went. It was just crazy, like to see the Belmont horses walking across Nelson or Union, or was it? Yeah, Union and coming into that paddock or the paddock area to go to the paddock is like, wow, this is crazy. These are the Belmont horses out there, so exactly. It was wild. It was good times. Yeah. Oh, I saw our buddy Sylvain. He wanted me to tell you hi.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I haven't heard from him in a while.
Yeah, he said he's been super busy, but he's a
good guy.
He's going to get back into it. Yeah, Sylvain, shout out to him. Yep. So
great guy.
Okay. Anything else before we get out of here?
No, I think we've covered an hour. What is it now? Hour and 20 some minutes. Pretty good.
Hour and 20. I knew it'd be a longer one because
that's right.
I think a lot of people, and again, it is fun to go over who you think's going to win and what's going to happen. But I really think talking about angles and how to play these races, that's really the most important thing.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot like, if I could have learned this, I would have been a head coach for a lot longer. It's kind of, you were talking about, don't get all upset that you miss these and think you're stupid.
Yeah.
You do the best you can do.
Yeah.
And you feel good about it. Now, don't throw down some money just because you got to have a little bit of analysis. Why are you doing this?
Right.
But if you've studied it and you really feel good about it and you miss it, just kind of blow it off. And it's kind of like in coaching. If I could have realized that, and I knew it was true, and it is true. If you're winning a lot of games and you're a coach, you can't let it go to your head.
Yeah.
It's the reason you're winning is, you might be doing a decent job, but you got good players.
Yeah.
You ain't going to win a bunch of games with shitty players. I don't care how good a coach you are.
Yeah.
So the secret to coaching is don't take too much credit when you win, and don't beat yourself to death when you lose, because a lot of times you lose because you got kids that can't make a basket, or they can't make a tackle, or just not good enough.
For example, I at the end of the girls basketball season that, cousin and one of my best friends coached, I went up to him after it was over. So you guys did a hell of a job.
Yeah.
Hell of a job. This
Out of
year.
500 season.
Yeah. And they were like, what are you talking about? We were awful. I said,
they played as good as they could.
You had one girl.
Yeah.
I said, shit. It's a miracle. You guys won as many as you did.
I know. I'm sure he went home at night when they get beat 42-37 or something like that, because they couldn't make a free throw, or they turned the ball over in a stupid situation.
Yeah.
You blame yourself. No, they got to make the play.
Yeah.
And when you're good, you make the plays. When you're not, you don't.
And it's the same way with betting. And just a recent example, but this happens every night. The game's 4-2 last night. I've got the Cardinals minus 1.5. We're going into the top of the ninth. The game's 4-2. Helsley comes in. First guy gets a hit. Steals second. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're in a situation right here. This guy's got to get 3 outs for me. I have absolutely no control over it.
No.
And it's like he's either going to get him or he's not.
Mm-hmm.
And if he gets him, I cash a ticket. That doesn't mean I'm a genius. Right. And if he doesn't get him and he gives up the runs, it's like, well, it doesn't mean you're an idiot. It just means he didn't.
You got him to the 9th inning, so it was a decent bet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So
the bad ones are when you analyze like crazy and you pick a team to win and you forgot, you get in there and you turn on the game and you pick the win and it's 8-0. After 2 innings, they're losing.
Those are the good ones. You just turn it off.
Yeah, that's right. You do get to turn it off. Yeah. But that's the ones that make you feel stupid.
Oh, for sure. But again, last thing, like I got a friend, we'll call him, and he just goes on ragers when stuff goes wrong. And I was just like, well, do you have a crystal ball where you can see the future? No. So why are you getting so upset? It's like, I should have done this. I should have done this. I should have this. I said, if you should have done it, you would have done it. Like, it's easy to know. I hate that where it's like, the result. You go, well, I should have bet him. Well, no shit, you should have. You know the result. But if you really should have, you would have. Like, I know. It's easy when it's over, So, all right.
Oh, I know.
We're getting off here. All right, guys. We'll see you back here next week. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Thanks, everybody, all day for joining us. All the shows are over now. So, everybody have a good rest of your night. Enjoy the NHL playoffs. And we'll be right back at you next week. And we'll probably know a Stanley Cup champion and an NBA champion by then. So, all right, guys. See you next week.
This is due to bets.